Hi guys! Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you've never been here before. My name is Ash. Today we are doing our next episode in our OG L Word review, which is season 2, episode 3, Loneliest Number. This episode is also quite fitting to review this week because wow, does Bet have a bad time, and the past 10 days have just been 10 days that, oh my goodness, everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. And like Bet, car issues and work stress and all these things. It's just, yeah, when I was watching this episode, I was thinking, oh, me too, Bet. As always, going by each character, starting off with Jenny. Jenny is still doing the class with Sandra Bernhard that we talked about last review. And Jenny and Bet actually have a really nice conversation in this episode where Bet kind of says to her, you know, I wasn't very nice to you when all this was going on. And Jenny, that is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, interaction that me and Bet have throughout the whole series because they never were super close. And by the end of the episode, we also have Carmen and Jenny starting their very strange kind of thing going on there. Shane and Carmen are kind of carrying on with they're carrying on with two very different things. Carmen seems to think that they're in some sort of relationship, and Shane is just, you know, enjoying her time with Carmen, but definitely not limiting any options. Shane and Carmen do play that game too hard. I think after you saw that game on the L Word, everybody played that game at one stage or another. And afterwards we do get Carmen asking Shane about her family, growing up, a lot of relationship type questions. But I mean, I know later on we do learn a bit more. We meet Shane's dad and her half-brother Shay and all these things. I have mentioned this before, but with the show in general, you just really don't get a lot of background on characters. You get something like Bet and Kit's dad, where we met him and he was the focus of an episode in season 1, an episode in season 2. But overall, the characters we don't really know anything about, their families, their past. Like, we get these tiny little nuggets of information sometimes, but like with Bet, we know Kit's her sister, we know her dad, we know she went to Yale, and we also know Jessie Spano, Kelly Wentworth, was her college roommate. But outside of that, it really not. And I mean, someone like Tina, we know nothing. There was that really strange confession that happened in the unreleased confession tapes that are on YouTube. I have talked about them once before, and I will again link them in the description box below. But if you haven't seen it by now, really do yourself a favor and don't watch it, especially Tina's. It's so strange. But yeah, a lot of people, we just never know anything about their past, and they're kind of continuing this with Generation Q. I mean, I really want to know what's happened over these 10 or so years that we're just getting no information about. And then even with new characters like Finley, like, what is this trauma I know they've only had 8 episodes, and hopefully with 10 episodes we'll get some more information. But yeah, I do like a lot of background and fleshed out characters, so I'll definitely be looking for some more of that in season 2 of Generation Q, as we never really got it in the original L Word. Kit mostly throughout the episode is just opening or reopening the planet, and she's done a lot of work and even brings in a whole Betty. Every time I see them, I just hear the theme music in my head. And you know, everyone has such strong feelings about the theme music, but there is just this tiny, tiny little part of me that secretly like sings along to it. Because it's like so awful it's good kind of thing. And obviously I associate it with the show and I love the show. Dana and Tanya are still planning their wedding. Tanya, can you imagine? This was Tanya in 2005, before Twitter, before, I mean, Facebook maybe had just been invented around this time but wasn't being widely used. Instagram and all these things, like, Tanya was ahead of her time with all these sponsorships and stuff. I feel like she would be one of those like Kris Jenner people, like with PR and stuff, and she is taking her 15% from Dana, like Kris Jenner takes from her kids. Not that I really know anything about the Kardashians, but apart from what my friends tell me. But Tanya is taking 15% manager's fee. I think even Kris only takes 10. But Dana then goes to talk to Alice about that, and they're still having these rules where they can't be around each other, and they talk at Alice's apartment, but like in the front door, so that the doors are open and Alice's like neighbors and stuff are going past. They do have a little group scene at Jenny and Shane's. Now they're living together, and it's Dana, Tanya, Alice, Shane, Jenny, and Bet comes over, and Bet's obviously like been having a few drinks, and she's still having drinks when she's there, and she gets herself into a bit of a state, and Alice and Shane take her home and kind of put her in bed and stuff, and Alice is saying like, I'm so sorry, you know, because she obviously sees how much pain Bet's in. And when I look back and see these scenes with Alice and Shane, it just confirms even more that those three really could be the only choice for Generation Q, where it's nice emotional scenes like that where they're really being good friends. Or I always think of the scene 17 Reasons Why, where they get the sign for Jodie. Alice and Shane are helping Bet, and I think that's a really, really funny episode. But Bet is, yeah, definitely spiraling in this episode, and that becomes clear to Alice and everyone else. So on to Baton Tina. Not a good episode for our favourite couple, because it starts off in the lawyer's office with Joyce Wishnia kind of saying this is final separation. Bet's kind of approaching it like a temporary thing, and Joyce is like, no, this is, you know, ending. And when Bet leaves the office, she gets into the car crash with this guy that produces some of the funniest lines. I think it's just the way Jennifer Beals delivers the lines too. Like, it's so stone cold, like it's just hilarious. And you know, the phone call with the guy later, like some of the best vet lines. Tina also does tell Alice in this episode that she is pregnant, so far Alice is the only person who knows. Alice, of course, wants to tell Shane, this is something I'm not supposed to tell you, and Shane's like, well, don't tell me, like, fight the urge. We do get one of our mentions for Helena in this episode. When I watch season 2, I'm always surprised how late Helena comes in. For some reason, I always think that she starts like the second or third episode, but obviously not. The absolute best bit of the episode, though, is where Bet's sitting with all of, you know, Franklin and all the people who work at California Arts Center, and Franklin says to Bet, like, oh, well, Helena Peabody, she's one of your people. And Bet's like, what, Yale graduate, works in art? He's like, no, she's a lesbian. I'm even saying it laughing to myself, like saying it, because I don't know why, but it always makes me picture like my dad and some other people who, my dad just sometimes, like, my dad could not care less one bit that I'm gay. If I, you know, start talking about someone and anybody, I'll say to him like, oh dad, I went out with this girl yesterday, you know, her name's blah blah blah. And he'll be like, oh, okay, is this a friend or a special friend? And like, he just has some of the weirdest ways. And I'm like, Dad, you know you can use the word gay and lesbian, right? And he just, like, for some reason will never use those words. There's always some weird. And so many of my friends, especially where I live now, because it's so small, even one of my neighbors, he has a new gay person who works for him. And he was like, oh, well, she's a lesbian, so I thought you might know each other. Like, oh, I would say at least 75% of the people that I'm friends with on this island have at one stage said something like that to me. Like, oh, you don't know her? Oh, I met this other lesbian, I told her about you. Like, thanks. To me, it's obviously hilarious, but I don't think that Beth took it quite the same way when Franklin was talking to her. The very end, everyone is at the new opening of the planet, and Tina uses this to go back and get into the house when no one's there and get some clothes. and she actually makes the bed for Bet, and Bet's laptop is like sitting open, and Tina, you know, she sits there and like smells Bet's pillow and has a little bit of an emotional scene, like she's upset, crying, and she opens the laptop, and the carpenter has sent Bet a picture of them like lying in bed saying, "Oh, I miss you," or something. And Tina obviously is really upset and she leaves, but the bed's obviously made and the laptop's on it, so when Bet comes back she knows like Tina was here and saw that. And so when Bet, you know, opens the computer, she sees the picture and is like, fuck. She goes fully clothed and like pushes herself into the pool, and that's the way the episode ends. I think when I first watched it, I was like, why is this woman putting herself in a pool? I was like 19, 20, and now I'm like, yep, been there. We've all done that before. But overall, really good episode. I do like the Shane, Alice, and Bet scenes, and obviously the little car crash one and the Franklin comment. Like, really some funny little laughs in this episode. Obviously, I don't like the Baton Tina still separated thing. Finally, Tina did tell at least Alice that she's pregnant. This episode was like really ramping things up for obviously everyone finding out Tina's pregnant and Bet finding out, Helena coming on board, and all these other things. The Tanya, Dana, Alice thing, like everything's moving forward at a good pace, I think, now. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the comments. As always, guys, follow me on social media. I'll pop the information up there for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll be back really soon with a Generation Q Season 2 update video. So take care. Have a good rest of the weekend. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.